Jenna.
Well, hi, Shelby. Welcome back.
Woo, we've got part 2 of our Crescent City. Oh, my book's over here. There we go. How's the sky and breath?
Yep, got part 2 coming. As a reminder, if you haven't listened to part 1, recommend listening to that first. This will also have spoilers for all of the SJM universe, so that includes both Crescent City books, All of Throne of Glass, and Akhtar.
Heck yeah, let's get into it. You know who I loved, though? Well, Rundanen, Crown Prince of the Valbar and Fae.
Of course, obviously, yes.
Who knew 3 things?
Yeah, oh God, we didn't even say anything about that.
I know. Oh my gosh, that scene was so good.
Yeah, it was just as good this time.
If anything, I think it was better this time.
Yeah.
Like knowing Rune a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
But I loved his relationship with Day.
Oh my God, all of the day and night stuff. I was like, that's so cute.
It was so precious.
It was so sweet.
Like,
I am obsessed.
having that space where you're like, feel like you can be like who you are and just being like gentle and sweet like they both were. And in real life both of them are pretty brutal, and so being able to see that like softer side of both of them was just so precious.
Yeah, it was really cute. And just seeing Rune just simp for her too.
Oh my God, I loved
After
it.
being kind of like a party boy fuck around guy, and then he's like, oh my God, Tay, you're amazing.
I felt so dumb this time around.
Right, it seems so much more obvious.
Yes.
I know.
Or I guess I should say the first time I read it, I felt so dumb because there were so many obvious signs.
Well, and so I think because I knew this time, the Hind dropping the stone before she drops Sophie in the ocean, and before she like when all the friends are in the ocean or whatever, I like caught that both times that she dropped the white stone, and then immediately the Ocean City or whatever shows up, and I'm like, well, duh. They were like, even like, oh yeah, well, you called for us, and they were like, sure,
Yeah, with our
light,
starlight.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I was like, okay, well, that makes a lot more sense now, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
But it was like so much more obvious this time.
Or like when Rune, when they end up like all playing poker together, and he goes, the Hind was the most beautiful woman that I've ever seen. Is that not SJM's like clear like number one like mating fact?
Yeah. Well, and when the Hind is watching Rune as he's leaving the fountain area or whatever at the party when he was supposed to meet. Yeah, and he sees the harpy instead, and he goes, Day, and she goes, what?
Excuse me.
But the Hind sees that, knows that it's him, and she watches him as he walks out, and he doesn't realize.
And they make eye contact.
But it's funny because even through all of like the scenes like right after that, he's like, oh my God, I'm so glad it wasn't the harpy. Oh my God, I'm so glad it wasn't the harpy. But he doesn't really, like, he kind of lumps the Hind with her, but not really.
I know.
So I was like, oh, he really did leave that open.
Which another thing, kind of moving away from Rune in the Hind a little bit, but still staying on the Hind. So when Bryce says to Fury, we're going to the Eternal City. And she's like, I want nothing to do with this. We're getting out of the city. Like, we want nothing to do with this. And she's like, do you know that the Harpy and Pollux and Baxian are like the worst creatures known to man? She doesn't mention the Hind. And
Does she not? Mm-mm. So you think that Fury knows that the Hind is a double agent?
Mm-hmm. I do. And let me find.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there we are. There it is. So, Bryce and Fury are talking, and she's like, I know it's insane, but any help you can give me. And Fury goes, you need a shit ton of help, but not with this. You're out of your mind. Do you know what they'll do to you if you're caught? What they might do to your family, to Juniper, to punish you? Did you see what the Harpy did to those rebels? Did you know what Mordok likes to do to his victims? I make sure to stay the hell out of his path. These people are soulless. The asteroid will gladly let them go to work on you and everyone you love. And I said, no mention of the Hind.
Or Baxian.
Or Baxian. Which I thought Baxian wasn't there. I didn't think that he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make me think that she... Well, except that both of them already have like specifically shown something in Lunatheon of like how they act.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting that she doesn't mention either of them.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if she knows.
It does seem that way.
Back to the hind just briefly.
Yes.
I'm curious if I'm reading too much into it, but it did say that the hind's sire was a stag shifter.
Oh my God, I was literally okay. Yep.
And she's, all flames and day
And blonde
and tan. Does that remind you of any other?
Aelin.
Thank you.
I was literally gonna bring that up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so she definitely is giving a lot of Aelin vibes in this.
Absolutely.
I wonder if there's some. Well, and because they talked about the shapeshifter phase being from a different world.
Yes.
So I'm like, maybe that's from the Throne of Glass world.
Uh-huh.
So it makes me wonder if she's like, a way down the line relative of Aelin.
Okay, I was wondering the same thing. And especially when I saw a stag shifter, because we know that like the northern stag is like super like
representative,
iconic.
I guess, for Aelin.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was literally just gonna bring that up. That is so funny.
We always have at least a couple
do.
of those moments.
I know. And so it kind of makes me think though that like these two worlds are Prithian, and then where was Throne of Glass? What was that called?
I don't remember what that world is called, but yes, the Throne of Glass world.
The Throne of Glass.
It's been like 4 years since I read it.
I
don't know.
Me too. It's funny because we just read ACOTAR, so I feel like we're experts on ACOTAR, but it's been a long time for Throne of Glass.
Well, you read it last year.
Okay, I also read 86 books last
year. Fair. Oh, man.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But yeah, it definitely makes me wonder that, for sure.
Yeah. You know who else we've not really talked about?
Who?
Sophie and Emil.
It's because they didn't even really matter.
I'm curious. Yeah, they didn't really seem to really matter besides to show that Bryce is more thoughtful than the other leaders, right? Because she cares about him. She cares about Emil as like a child and a person and his happiness and safety.
Yes.
And no one else seems to. But
and
besides
Sophie was working with Danica, and Danica was yet again.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. But I'm just curious what your feeling was on that of them just not really actually meaning anything in the end. Or at least for now. I mean, there was a mention of, maybe Sophie's body with a necromancer being used.
Yeah. And we know that Hypaxia is a necromancer. So maybe, but I don't know. It honestly just felt kind of pointless for me. Like the whole prologue, I was like, why are we learning about this again? Maybe to start learning about the hind, even though we don't really learn that much about her until later on. But I don't know. I kind of just didn't care.
I know. I'm so torn between feeling like the whole plot line with the Thunderbirds was useless.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's kind of a nice mix up to not actually have everybody be all powerful and important.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And actually be it was kind of a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that in stories very much because I think people think it's unsatisfying, but it at least made it a little bit of a surprise that Emil actually just doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he doesn't
He's
have
just another person.
Just a kid.
Yeah, or at least that's what we think so far.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
I know. Yeah, that was really interesting to me. And it wrapped up so quickly.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I thought it was more important when I read it last time, and this time I just didn't really care that much.
Yeah, it made me wonder if it was less supposed to be about him and more supposed to be about showing us the human rebels and their true nature, because we see the human rebels shoot the veneer.
Yes.
That are helping them, right? The ones that are on their side and have been helping them, and they just shoot them in cold blood, or Pippa does. And so I wonder if he's more just supposed to be an example of a casualty of war sort of situation of, just really unfortunate placement.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And just character development for Bryce.
Yeah. But it was a little unsatisfying for sure.
It was. Yeah.
That all of that plot line seemed not super, I don't know.
I mean, I hope he comes back, but also we don't really see that much from the mom or Randall or
I mean, they're chilling off with the humans. I don't know,
so I don't think I don't know, maybe they'll become a bigger plotline, but who knows.
Do you think Sophie will be reanimated by Hypaxia or someone else?
I do. I kind of think now that we've kind of been talking a lot, like Celestina and like maybe her being, like, what's that word? Like cornered by the Asteri to
Blackmailed.
like, yes, blackmailed. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Maybe Hypaxia will be like, well, I have to save Celestina. I have to do this. And so to do that, her hand will be forced by doing that with Sophie.
Yeah. Well, because Cormac had Sophie's body before, but now Cormac is dead, I think.
We didn't see a body.
I don't know. Yeah, so that's one of the things I want to talk about. I was really confused at the end. Who all died? I don't really know. Pippa died, I think.
Pippa.
Right?
I don't know.
Pippa died in the explosion that Cormac like caused.
Yeah,
right?
because doesn't Regella say, "Oh yeah, there was an explosion and everybody's dead."
That's like they kept saying all these people are dead, but I'm like, I don't really understand who's dead right now.
I know.
Like I really don't actually understand who's dead. But when at like the very end, when I think it's when Declan maybe calls Ethan, and he says, yeah, okay, it says Therian called from the depth charger pod to say that Cormac's dead. So I think Cormac is dead.
Yeah, well, it's to be assumed that he was dead because he stayed back in the explosion.
Okay.
But kind of like we were talking about with Sophie, the entire book, until we see a body. But I mean, it was an explosion, so I guess
I don't know. I just was really confused by the end. Like, I really have no idea if I think Pippa died. I think Cormac died, but I really don't know.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they came back to life.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting going on to Cormac. How did you feel about him this time around?
He was there.
Yeah, he was.
I feel like he was just there to know things.
Yeah.
like I feel like he was just I didn't really care about him as a person.
Yeah.
He was just there to be the most knowledgeable on some of the Fae stuff that Bryce didn't know about.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, I don't know why I feel like I just didn't really care about him this time, which I kind of feel bad about, but I just didn't really care.
That's funny. I cared about him more this time.
Yeah?
Yeah, and for some reason, I was like super interested in him this time around. Like the fact that he knows how to winnow.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely interesting, and now Bryce does too,
and now
right?
Bryce does too. Which I thought it was really interesting. So, like, Rune's mother is from Avalon. Cormac is from Avalon. And Cormac has these, like, shadowy powers and can winnow. And Rune says a couple of times, like, oh, I didn't know where those powers came from. And now you start to see that they come from Avalon. So I thought that was cool information to get about, like, the characters that we already know. Just, like, learn a little bit more about them. But...
well, and Avalon in general, I think is going to be more important in Crescent City 3 because Cormac talks about how old magic guards it and that even the Asteri can't get through without invitation.
Oh my gosh, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, I can find the page if you want because I can read exactly how he phrases it. It's really brief, but it's when Bryce has cut off her engagement with him in that whole explosion.
Yes.
And he's like, you don't get it. Like, part of it, why your dad was trying to send you here is because it literally is safer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely did not catch that part.
Oh, it's actually her dad. It's the Autumn King that's saying that. Oh. And he goes, Cormac is powerful. His household is strong. I want you in Avalon because it's a safe hold. Even the Asteri cannot pierce its mists without permission. So old is the magic that guards it.
Oh my gosh.
So, and the Avalon Fae are the ones that are more like the Perithian Fae.
Exactly.
Which I already
think. Like the Night Court Fae.
Yeah. So that already is like interesting to me.
Oh my gosh.
So I wonder if some of the rebels and stuff that are against the Asteri are going to be able to hide in Avalon.
Oh.
And like be protected there during Crescent City 3.
I hope so. Well, and then Cormac could just go back and then... we'll never know.
Well, I don't know if I think he's alive necessarily, but I'm wondering if even just having bonded with Cormac during that time, I don't know.
That's really interesting.
You know who we've not talked about?
Who?
Who's like still only in here minimally? Fury.
Oh, I know.
We still know like nothing about her in this book. We don't know. They even say again, we don't know what type of veneer she is.
Yes.
We don't really know what type of powers she has.
Right.
We know she's worked for both sides.
Yep. She knows players on both sides. But you know what we do know about her? She's still a shitty friend.
Oh.
I hated her even more in this book.
Just for being not wanting to play the in-between with June?
No, because that I actually felt like she was like being a decent friend about. Like she was like, that's your friend too. Like you can talk to her.
No, I agree.
Like give her some space, but like go talk to her afterwards. Like give her a big apology.
Yeah.
But no, I hated her for the fact that when Bryce says that they're going to the Eternal City, she's like, I want nothing to do with this. I'm leaving. We're going to get out of the city. I'm not helping you in the slightest. Like, she offers zero help, and then she just bolts. She bails. And Bryce goes, will you take Syrinx? She goes, I guess.
I guess I didn't read into it that far.
Oh, I hated her for that. And that's it.
I guess I just saw her, like, wanting to protect June. Mm-hmm. And, like, rightfully so, not wanting to involve and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like you want your friends to back you, but it's funny, I like literally didn't even register that in this one. But
she literally does not back her a single time.
But I did note that she has Syrinx.
Yes.
And I think that is gonna, because he doesn't really come up in this one.
No.
But he can, unlock doors and get through things and all that
teleport.
Stuff. So I feel like she's going to come back and try and help save Hunt and Rune, who are now locked up in the dungeons.
Because she has not had Bryce's back, not once.
I mean, she did pick up Emil from the Viper Queen and drive him to her parents.
Okay, that aside.
I was like, I think that's why I was having that face, is because I feel like there's a lot of things she did that were very good friend things in this one, especially compared to Crescent City 1. Like, I think their relationship was much better, and I appreciate how she handled it with June too. She's
June, yeah.
She's like, yeah, that's my girlfriend, but like, you guys need to work this out on your own. Like, I'm not gonna play middleman for you. You need to figure it out. You did a shitty thing. You need to apologize.
Yeah.
But and I think that she helps, even if she doesn't want to, with the Viper Queen stuff and with Emil.
But the only reason she was helping with the Viper Queen stuff, like initially, like when they were going to look for Emil in the meat market, was because Juniper didn't want to go. And because she was just being there for emotional support for Juniper. She wasn't going to actually help Bryce. That's how I saw it, at least. I don't know. It just, the way that Fury talks to Bryce, I think it just really irks me, because I couldn't imagine, like, Bryce is so loyal to her and she tries to be such a good friend that it's just like, Fury just like gives her nothing in return, it feels like. And so I think it just makes me really sad for Bryce.
Yeah.
Like that one-sided friendship type of thing. I didn't like it. Made me sad.
Yeah.
But
that's so funny that I like completely looked over that part. That's really funny.
And I mean, maybe I was looking for ways to be mad at Fury.
No, that's fair. I'm just curious to know more about like what she is and what she's actually doing.
Oh, definitely. Did you notice that when Bryce lands in Prithian and she sees Amryn,
that she says, what, the slanted eyes like Fury's?
Yeah. Because she said she had like, I think she said the slanted eyes, and I think she said similar stature. And I was like, interesting. Like, why would Amryn like Fury's lineage? Because when Amryn first came to the world and she was like, oh, I liked this Fae body best.
Yeah, that it was pleasing to her or whatever. Yeah.
We don't know anybody else in Prithian that looks like Amryn.
Yeah, we don't.
And so it's really interesting that Amryn would know that Fae body and like that Fae body best.
Well, because it'd come from a time when the Asteri were still trying to like move beings through the rift and like through the portals and stuff to try and like collect them from all these different worlds to Midgard. And so it's probably when they were still kind of doing this back and forth. Do you wonder if Amryn was originally like the same type of being as the Asteri?
Yeah. I do, because the Asteri can clearly either shift or put their essence into like
a body.
Body, because we are only given Regelis.
And he's like a teenage boy, like a lanky teenage boy.
Yes, which weird. Like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly they can choose what body they want to be in. And so, yeah, that connects Amryn. For me, I think she was an Asteri.
Yeah, I kind of have wondered too if maybe that's going to fit together somehow.
People have been putting a lot of comments on our socials that it was confirmed that Amryn is a biblical god, but that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know that I'd say it was confirmed,
and I don't even know what biblical god, I guess.
Me too. I don't know.
Maybe I missed something obvious. I don't know.
I think I missed something obvious too, because I don't remember SJM ever explicitly saying that. So I don't know. Yeah.
This is like a kind of more lighthearted thing. Really loved that when Day is talking to Rune.
Yeah.
It's like towards the middle of the book, middle end. And Rune specifically says that it's the words of a dreamer.
Oh.
Did that stick out to you at all? Of like, because they always talk about the quarter dreams, and for Athena, it just made me be like, I wonder if the Hind is gonna like really belong in that group at some point.
So,
because like she's not belonged, for all of her life in Midgard, and like has had to be this person that she doesn't want to be, and that just aligns so well with like Rhysand having to like act as somebody that he doesn't want to be in public to save people, and that's like exactly what the Hind has been doing. So just specifically the words of a dreamer part, I was like, oh, because they say that so much in ACOTAR of like, oh, just a dreamer, like belonging in the quarter dreams.
Oh my gosh, I loved that. And I just loved the Hind, Lydia. I thought she was, even looking at her actions as the Hind, I didn't actually think they were as gruesome as maybe I thought they were the first time.
I know, because I think that we know that she isn't actually bad this time. Then I was watching for that too. What did you think of her story?
Like the story she was telling Rune?
Yes. Who do you think that story is about?
I think it was her.
You think that was the story of her being born a witch and whatever, all the transformations and stuff? I kind of wondered that too.
Yeah, I definitely thought that. If we think she's from Aylin's lineage and she's a witch, it makes me think of Manon. And if she's, I don't know, what if she's a descendant of Manon and Dorian?
Oh, I would love that.
I would love that too.
Except that Dorian has like more Rhysand type powers. Like he's like, isn't he shadow? Or invisible fingers? I don't know.
The invisible fingers. Another shadow daddy. Go figure. We love them.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny.
There's some other things that we haven't talked about that weren't really important yet in this book, but I think they're going to be important later. And the first is that the Ocean Queen's floating cities don't run on first light. And so I thought that was really interesting that they're completely disconnected from that grid. So if the Asteri go down or that whole grid goes down, they're still going to be okay because they're still powered the same way that they were more than 15,000 years ago before the Asteri got there. And they talk about that a lot in that highway in like the ocean. And so I wonder if that's not going to come into be important until probably the House of Many Waters when we get that book, the fourth Crescent City, but just was of note to me.
I know.
Specifically that didn't run on first light.
I thought it was super interesting that when they're looking at that highway that they talk about what was there before the Asteri. It was ancient humans and their gods dwelled there. Therein heard the ruins of their civilizations deep beneath the sea. But when they're looking at those like markings, they say they're strange markings.
Always word marks in my mind. Yep. I said the same thing.
Another place that we see those are in the Bone Quarter.
Yep.
When they're like going through and they see these like giant obelisks and they had these strange old words on them, like old ancient fae. I always think word marks.
Yep. Well, in all of the like paintings and stuff and sculptures in the beginning of the book when Bryce is looking at like the gallery stuff too. Yeah, there's seemed to be word marks everywhere. And there was strange writing around the mystics. I think that's word marks.
I think so too.
Just
everything.
I just assume.
Same.
Oh, speaking again from the mystics, the dragon.
Oh, yes.
So the dragon was a gift from an archangel to the astronomer, but we don't know which archangel or what the reading was.
Right.
And the dragon even says when someone was like, oh, it must have been a hell of a reading. And she goes, yeah, it was. And so I'm like,
interesting.
Yeah. So I wonder like which archangel it was and like what the reading was.
Yeah.
That was big enough that you would gift a dragon to.
A dragon. Like, yeah, I don't know.
And so now is property of the Viper Queen, I guess, kind of, although she says that she's made a deal. We don't actually know if that deal is the same as like what Therian did with like drinking the blood and now being partially controlled by the Viper Queen. So we don't know if the dragon has actually done that or if there was some other deal. But
well, I thought it was really interesting that Jessica also talks about her, and Bryce goes, oh, Ariadne, however you want to say it. She's like, oh yeah, the dragon. And she's like, oh, that's what she's going by? Fascinating.
I saw that too. I was like, wait a second.
I was like, how does Jessica know?
Jessica knows everything. Like she just casually knows everything.
She does. And everybody knows her.
I don't know. But including Apollyon, but not by that name.
Yeah. What the fuck?
So do you have any idea who you think Jessica is? Do you think it's someone else that like we should know or no?
I feel like I don't think we know her yet.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna find out like that she's some like big player doing something.
Yeah.
She defected to Flame and Shadow, right?
Right. She was a witch.
Yes. I don't know.
I know. I'm so curious to know more about Jessica. I really want to know more about her.
Also, the Viper Queen. I need to know more about her too.
Yeah.
Because Therian, when he goes and like makes that deal with her and he defects to the Viper Queen, like you can defect to different houses. You can just defect to the Viper Queen.
Well, because each of the 7 districts of the Lunathion have different leaders, right? And the meat market is one of the districts, and the Viper Queen is the leader of that in the same way that the River Queen is of, like, that area.
Okay.
Of, like, the Eastros or whatever. But, like, so I think that's why it was more just, like, a different leader of a different group in the Lunathion.
So if you drank the Autumn King's blood, do you think you would defect to...
I don't know that you have to drink the blood for all of them was my guess. I thought that was, like, a weird Viper Queen specific thing.
Well, what house is she in?
Flame and Shadow, right?
But the Underking is the leader of Flame and Shadow.
I guess we don't really know what she is.
Because when we learn that Jessica defected to Flame and Shadow, she only serves the Underking.
I guess now that you say that, maybe not every district is specifically in one of the houses. I guess there must be some creatures that aren't in any of the houses because if the Autumn King is House of Earth and Blood, and so are the Shifters, and the angels or whatever are like House of Sky and Breath, and we have the Underking and everybody are House of Flame and Shadow. But like they talk about the mystics and stuff. Oh man, let me see my notes from last time because I wrote down who the leaders were.
While you're looking for that, kind of like still on with the Viper Queen a little bit, I thought it was really interesting that like we don't hear from anybody else who like Jessica when she talks about like defecting to the House of Flame and Shadow. We don't hear that like the will of the Underking is the will of her own. And kind of like with Bryce, like if she's a part of House of Earth and Blood, like she clearly does not want the same thing that the Autumn King wants. And so I thought it was really interesting that Therian was like, oh my gosh, like I wanted to do everything that she said and her will was now my own and there was a string tugging me back. I just thought it was very different than anything that we've seen yet.
Yeah. So I was just looking back just to like look at the leaders of the Nathion to see if that stuck out. And I think a couple of them, I just wonder if they aren't bound to a house because the Viper Queen and the Meat Market, I don't know that they ever say what house. I think I just assumed Flame and Shadow because it made sense, but we don't actually know that. And the Oracle and the Old Square, I don't think the Oracle belongs to a specific house either. And there's no leader for the humans, whatever. But so I don't know. That was just interesting now that you say that. I'm not actually sure. I guess I just assumed everybody was in some house, but that's not actually true. There are some that aren't in any houses.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So, but yes, she clearly has weird powers that we're unaware of.
Yes,
or
definitely.
Just not understanding.
Yeah. Something else about powers, going back to talk about Hunt a little bit, I thought it was really interesting the way that his lightning was wielded. So there were points where he would dim himself, and it was almost like he was moving through shadows. And so, like, when him and Bryce are in the gym, he had dimmed himself to see if he could do it. And Bryce goes, "Where did he go?"
Yes.
And he was just, like, gone until he sneaks up behind her and then eats her out.
Nothing like sweaty gym pussy.
Girls. Clearly he liked it. I don't know. Zap, zap. Oh, my gosh. But then when they talk about when he's going, like, ballistic because he's so upset because Bryce is, like, in danger, and they say that Hunt's lightning wraps around his head like a crown and then flowed like tongues of flame out of his mouth. That sounds like a death god to me. It just seemed
like how the Bone Carver or the Weaver were death gods. I don't know that I feel like a death god, but I did get a lot of Thur references for sure. So it made me wonder more if he was like a god of lightning or something.
And then at another point, I think it was at the very end of the book, Mordok says to him, let me find like the exact quote because I know I'll screw it up. Regelis has special interest in you lot. He asked me to sniff around. Maybe it's because your scent is wrong, Angel.
Yep.
And Athlar goes, what the fuck does that mean? And Mordok goes, not like any other angel I've scented. What?
Well, there are a couple of times that I think, I don't know, it's kind of referenced that Hunt is not like other angels.
Yes.
Well, and in the last book, they talk about how his lightning hadn't been seen in known history. And the Oracle says that I thought you were something that was lost that I didn't know would like be found again or something to that point. So yeah.
Very interesting.
So maybe a lost god of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't know. Reincarnated.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know what I think about him.
Definitely something different. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. What else I got here? Oh, the fire sprites.
Oh my gosh, the fire sprites and how they love. Is it Declan that they love?
Yeah, it's funny at this point. I feel like I should know the difference, but Flynn and
Declan.
Yeah, they're both the same person to me.
Same
I
here.
know that they're different, but like they're both just living in the house with Rune boys, and that's I know one of them is like the tech guy, but I couldn't even tell you which one. I think it's Declan.
I thought it was Flynn.
So yeah, I feel like I should know that by now, but I don't.
Gosh, that's so
but
funny.
yeah, the fire sprite's like one of them. But they are. I just thought it was interesting that came up like so shortly that they said they told Bryce to find Eurythes. When Bryce is talking about the sacrifice that Lily gave, and they were like, "Oh, you need to tell Eurythes about that."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, but you need to find her first." Like the last we heard that maybe she was given to the Asteri, and like maybe you can talk to her. And then it's just they move on from that and they don't say anything else.
Yes. Okay, I actually did pay attention to that part because I was like, why are they making such like Bryce really wanted to move off of the subject. She was like, okay, cool, yeah, great, I'll do that. And they're like, no.
They're like, no, you need to find her.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, what does she know?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. And if this other sprite has been with the Asteri and somehow they are able to, you know, I don't know, get her on their side, right? Then
and clearly Lily was like of a really big bloodline.
I know, that was sweet.
Really.
But it makes me wonder if that fire sprite then will have like witnessed things that she'll be able to share information on.
Yeah. Crescent City 3 is going to be wild.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of open-ended things that I think so too. Could or couldn't, be pulled back in.
I think so too. And it could go so many different ways too that I'm like, I don't know. Oh, talking a little bit about Ethan, I think that he was actually wolf mates with Bryce.
You think so?
I do, because of the way that Ethan was talking about mates. And he was like, oh, it's different for wolves, it's different for angels, it's different for fae. Mm-hmm. And then when he starts talking to, I think he's telling Cormac about the first time that he had, or maybe it was Therian, who knows, they're the same person. When he was telling one of them about when he first met Bryce, he was like, oh my gosh, she was the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. And then I couldn't stop thinking about her and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. He's like, I could have sworn we were mates. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I wonder if maybe there was something to that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that the wolf and the mystic wolf, I think, is his mate.
I would love that.
But I mean, we do, as Sham has said, there could be multiple mates, so who knows?
Yeah, I know. And if they're different for fae and...
Yeah, that's true too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could show up differently for each of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know about that either.
Yeah. It's interesting.
We've not talked about Bryce and Hunt merging powers. So that happens multiple times when they're hooking up. And one time they show Bryce's starlight. And the other time they show Hunt's lightning. Oh. And so they did kind of flip-flop. He has her starlight once and she has his lightning in her. Huh. Zap, zap. But no, they kind of show that as literally merging both directions, not just him getting her starlight, but the other direction too. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird and interesting, and I'm just curious to see if the only reason for that was so that they could do the power up for the teleporting for winnowing, or if I don't know, it was more indicative of something else or just merging powers in general. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought about Bryce's power a lot, though, as kind of a conduit.
Yeah, well, and one of the princes says both of them are conduits.
Yes, and so maybe because they're both conduits, maybe they can just do it. Maybe it's not because they're mates. Maybe it's because their powers are like that.
Yeah. I wonder if Bryce is going to not have power or not have very much power in Prythian because Prythian doesn't have first light. And they talk a lot about how because of how she did the drop and it was related to first light, and they talk a lot about her needing
to charge up because she's
or that connection through that or something. Yeah, pulling power from the gate and all that jazz. Huh. So it makes me wonder, since there's not first light in Prythian, is she, because she says that she's her powers sputtered out or whatever when she first shows up there, but she also just, did a big jump. Right. So that makes sense.
But it also makes sense that she wouldn't have it.
Right. So I'm curious if she'll, losing powers. Yeah.
SJM loves
I do hate that. Yeah. Give up your powers for someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. I hate that.
Can't you just stay powerful? Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh. So that was interesting.
That would be really interesting. We definitely learned the names of all of the asteroids in this one. We learned that Hesperus is the evening star. Polaris is the North Star, which is funny because I think that actually means North Star.
That is the actual North Star, yeah. I think they're all actual star names. Sirius is also a star.
Oh.
I think they're all actual stars.
Oh, that's actually really cool. I didn't realize that.
Well, I'm just assuming since at least half of them are. I think all of them must be.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I know the Regulus or whatever is also a star name.
Interesting. Oh. There's some that we know, which stars. Hesperus is the evening star. Polaris is the North Star. Eosphoros, we don't know. Octartus is the southern star. And he sits to the right of Regulus. Asteris, we don't know. Sirius was the one that was eaten. And then we have Regulus, the bright hand. And I think it's interesting that we don't know any more about Asteris or Sirius or what any of them look like.
Yeah, well, because none of them are even in that scene, right? In the Eternal City.
Yeah, it's just Bryce and Regulus.
But they show when Bryce sees the first light go through the tubes and then she sees the like at blank % power or whatever, right? There was more than just him there, right? Like there was a couple other names that they showed percentage of power.
So they showed all of their names. She just mentions the 2 of them. She mentions like 2 people's powers or 2 of the Asteries powers, but all of the other Asteri had gone to that explosion.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so they weren't there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was just Regelis that was there. But I don't know. I just feel like there's still so much more to be known about them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and because we know that the Asteri, assume, I guess we don't know for sure, but we assume the Asteri are mad at specifically the Fae and Prythian and want to get back at them too.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder if, what's the thing in the lake called again in Prythian? That's not resolved at the end of Akasif.
Koshe?
Yeah. I wonder if Koshe is also like the same type of being as the Asteri or something. Because remember he says he tried to take over the world before, but it like didn't work. And I know the Asteri said that they like kicked them out previously or something. I wonder if he's also like somewhere on that same
and that's why
scale.
He's stuck? Is because he can't
I don't know.
move through? Oh, interesting. I didn't think about that.
But they did make a comment about how before basically the Fae of Prythian kind of like kicked him out.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, whatever, fought him off, right? Mm-hmm. That they closed almost all the holes to it. So again, it kind of brings back, like we talked about in Akasif, the obelisk or monolith or whatever it is that's at the top of Ramiel and the Pond of Starlight we've talked about too, and like a couple other weird places, but specifically the monolith because they were protecting it, like the Lyrians were protecting it. And so it kind of brings me back to that to think or to wonder if that was one of the places that's now closed.
Or like a gate.
Like a gate, right. That's what I'm saying.
Because you touch it and it transports you.
Yeah. So I don't know, like a gate or a portal or whatever the same way. So I thought that was really interesting to think about.
That is really interesting. Something else that I thought was very interesting in this book. Why does the Autumn King have an orrery?
Yep. There's a lot of discussion about that. Well, and Rhys has one of those too.
Exactly.
And why is everyone so interested in this? And I get it. But remember, the Autumn King was also doing tests on it because he said, I want to know where we're from. I wanted the truth of where we're from and all this stuff. So. And
he also says to Bryce at one point, when you're ready to learn the truth, give me a call. And it's like, like, I think that he knows so much more than he's trying to let on.
Yeah, I think he's going to know more too. And be more important than just an annoying dad.
Because you know who else we don't really know about? So we have Lucian, Eris, and who are the other brothers?
I don't remember their names.
But we're missing a few.
I'm sure they said their names. I just don't really remember.
Yeah. Well,
maybe they haven't.
We are missing a couple. There are a couple that we just don't know about.
Oh, okay, good.
And so I'm wondering if they were thrown into Prythian, or not Prythian, into Lunathian, or if they were descendants, like they got caught in the Northern Rift or whatever, and now.
Would the timelines match up though? Because we're supposed to be like clearly similar time or somewhere in the near future, I'm assuming, because Nesta is there and Prythian. So when Bryce comes, and I mean, the Fae related to the Autumn King and stuff, it seems like go back all 15,000 years to the Northern Rift. So you're saying like Eris's family way back in time, like like they had a split there. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, or like we think that time, like, Bryce goes like through the portal to Prythian, but what if she was going back in time too? Like, what if it's not at that exact timeline? I guess, because I've always questioned, like, the timeline of it. Because when she shows up in Prithian, she's like, wow, everything is so old. Like, this looks like it could be in Jessica's antique gallery.
Well, that's why, I mean, to be fair, it's a different style, right? They talk about it. It's like they don't have cell phones and skyscrapers and stuff in Prithian. But the only reason why I say it has to be either at the point of Akasif or further on, that it can't be behind then, is because Nesta is there.
Right. Yeah, but what if Bryce traveled through time?
So that's what I'm saying. Bryce could jump forward in time, but Bryce can't. I don't think Bryce could have gone further back than Akasif because Nesta is there. So it has to, you know what I mean? For Nesta to be there, they has to be either there or forward.
Yeah,
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what if they, like.
You think everybody, all of our inner circle also went back in time?
No.
I'm so confused.
I know. What if Prithian was set 15,000 years ago or 30,000 years ago or before everything, and then now we're in the modern day and it's not happening all on the same timeline, and so Bryce traveled back in time to Prithian.
Oh, I see what you're trying to say now. I think the only reason why I didn't assume that is because 15,000 years ago was also an important point in Prithian. Like, or 15,000 years in the past is also when they talk about a lot of other things happening, and like, oh, this language of the Old Fae hasn't been spoken in 15,000 years, and all these other things that make it seem like that was a central point between them. Yeah. But I don't know that for sure.
Like a converging point. Yeah. I don't know. I question.
It might not be. They talk in ACOTAR enough about all these things that happened and all these changes that happened to Prithian 15,000 years ago. So since it was also 15,000 years ago in Midgard, I just assumed that was where that split happened.
I think.
And that they've been marching along on the same timeline, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. Part of the only reason I question that is because of like the urban setting that we have in Midgard, and then how she talks about how like Prithian just like hasn't advanced in 15,000 years. Like to me, that's why it just seems a little like odd.
Yeah, I have no idea. For sure. Well, because Prithian doesn't have first light, and the first light and stuff came from the Asteri, and all of the devices that they use are based on first light.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's that the Asteri brought technology with them.
But then if they tried to conquer Prithian too.
But failed. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, I'm sure, about the timeline. I have no idea.
I guess I'm just confused on the timeline.
Yeah.
Like, why is one urban and the other one isn't?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't.
Guns and cell phones and stuff. I don't know. It is really interesting though.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, I don't even think we've said that Bryce mistakes Reese for Rune.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We like mentioned it a little bit in the Crescent City 1 episodes because we remembered that happened. But yeah, it was very specifically that she's like, Rune?
Yes.
So they must really look like. So that just reinforces that I think somewhere down the family tree they're related.
I do too. I think the exact same thing. And I am also questioning still if it was Reese's sister or mom or something that went through the Northern Rift and was now in Lunithia.
Which just gets back to us being confused about the timeline, because I don't know, maybe if it really is like, I don't know, totally separate chunks than like her going back in time or forward in time to the Neth. I don't even know. Yeah. I'm not even going to try and wrap my head around that right now. But yeah, I still think that Reese's sister could potentially be that, or just in general, like some relation of his family.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. If they have that much of a look like that she thinks it's him, that's crazy. And then my favorite line of the whole book, hello, Bryce Quinlan, my name is Reese.
I don't know, my favorite line, I'm not in a good way favorite, but was then Hunt knew nothing at all.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I'm like, I don't even want to know what that means. Like, is Hunt just no longer himself? Is he only going to be like, 'cause now he's owned by the Asteri directly, like that crown that went on, or the, halo, whatever. Wasn't even put on by a witch. It was put on by the Asteri.
And he said, I don't even
need it this time. Yeah. So that makes me very concerned for Hunt. If Hunt is just like no longer at all himself. and like doesn't even remember Bryce at all.
Yeah. Doesn't remember anything. What does that mean for Celestina?
No idea. Not a clue. I don't know where that's going to go at all.
Which SJM said, as we should be, I am very worried for Hunt and for Rune.
I know. I'm really scared for them both. I think
they both basically said goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, all of them kind of said goodbye to each other.
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was really sad.
Rune's goodbye was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Which makes me think Rune is going to die first.
You think he's going to die for sure?
I didn't think so before I reread him saying goodbye. And that goodbye seemed very final. And it was just really sad.
I really hope he doesn't die before he like fixes things with Day.
I know. The way he was blocking her out
was so sad.
And he even realized
I felt so bad for her.
I did too. She was like, I'm trying to help. And he's like, no. And he even realized, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Oh, I'm going to keep doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I
felt really bad for her because that was probably exactly what she was scared of. She's like, you like me for me, but then once you find out who I am, you're not going to like me anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what she was scared of.
It was so sad.
I know.
But then you remember that she's the Hind and you're like, I don't know.
But then I started thinking back to everything that she had done, and it didn't even seem like she was trying to save Sophie. She never turned them in. She tried to save them so many times. She never actually, like...
Not in this book, yeah. Like, we know she's tortured people in the past, but we don't know.
But she said she had to be...
Right. She had to put on a face.
Yeah.
I mean, so did Reese.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I think that I really saw a lot of similarities between the Hind and Reese.
It was just so sad. Oh, gosh.
Well, I'm super excited, though, for this next book to come out.
I cannot wait.
I'm glad I reread all of these books. I feel like it was really helpful to be set up for the next one. And I hope that our listeners have enjoyed not necessarily having to reread them and just listen to this instead. But I do feel like I picked up more this time at that.
Me too.
I wouldn't have enjoyed Crescent City 3 as much if I hadn't just reread them.
I completely agree. The only thing I think I'm missing is like connections that maybe I would have gotten if I would have just reread Throne of Glass. I felt like I would have maybe seen more connections.
We don't even know for sure yet, though, that Throne of Glass is going to be in this next book.
We don't,
It's not confirmed. Do you think, yay or nay, do you think that...
I don't think so.
I don't think it'll be in this one. Like, maybe it'll be mentioned in passing or something, but I don't think in this next book...
Right.
Anybody from Throne of Glass will come back, but like maybe in a future one or something. But I feel like if she tried to converge all three at the same time, it'd be like too much going on. I
think so too. Kind of like how in this one we have like where the Hind, we kind of talk about how she has like alien features, and how her father was a stag shifter. I think it's going to be stuff like that where it's like passing, but I don't know if our characters will come back.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I would love to see Dorian and Manon, like, child come and help or something, though.
Yeah. Or Aelin and Rowan.
Yeah.
Me too. I would love that. I think that'd be awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, right after we upload this, we're going to be reading Crescent City 3.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to have a little bit of patience on that one. Kind of like we talked about at the beginning of part 1. We will probably wait a few weeks to put out this episode because we want to make for Crescent City 3. We want to make sure everyone has time to read and enjoy it on their own first. So that probably won't be coming until later the next month. But we'll definitely be doing that book at some point, and we look forward to talking with you guys then.
Yes. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.
Bye.